Knocks on the beat. Knocks on the beat, beat, beat. Nuts on the beat, beat, beat.
start up here. Just make your way over, grab a seat. If we can have everybody's attention real quick, we're going to get started here.
I'm looking for Caserta's father. He's not here.
He didn't make it in yet.
We can't start without Caserta's father. Michael's not here. I'm not taking the photo. CC. Michael's not here. I'm not taking the photo. Get Michael.
Are we live here yet? We're live. All right, all right. All right. All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. If you can come in from the bar area, guys, make your way in over here. We're going to start right now. Nice to see you. What's that? All right, guys, if we have your attention. Thank you guys for coming out to Collectors Night 5. This is our 5th event, and we really appreciate everyone coming out. We have people coming from all over.
Yeah, big shout out to everybody, all the New Yorkers, thank you. But it's not just people from New York, we have people flying in from California, Mr. Cash. Texas now, you live all over the place, I forget. Texas, we got Florida, we have Georgia,
Houston, Texas.
Oklahoma, we got everywhere. So thank you to everybody for being here, making this 5th event, maybe our biggest one yet. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. Thanks for everybody traveling in. We're live streaming tonight, so in the camera, if you guys can see me, thank you for tuning in. It's going to be a great night. The reason these get bigger and better is because of you guys, and we love it. Big shout out to JB, John Brigandi, who's eating something over there, but you guys will hear from him later. There he is. Big shout out to Sean Riley and Sean's Bar and Kitchen for letting us do this here and take over the spot. We got some guys working here tonight doing the live streaming, running registration. If you guys can't get to myself or Chris or John throughout the night and have any questions, go find them. They're great dudes. They will certainly help you out.
We encourage you guys to go eat. We got all the food over here on the left, open bar over here on the right, so don't be shy. They're going to keep bringing out food if you're hungry, and with the drinks as well, so don't be shy there.
For the raffles, when you guys checked in, we're giving away close to $5,000 worth of stuff tonight. You saw it when you walked in. We have the Mickey Mantle signed 16 by 20, signed Bowman photo, a Hank Aaron signed bat, Mike Trout inscription ball, a couple of cards, an original Type 1 photo kit with a Type 1 original photo, and a few others that I know I'm forgetting. But if you guys didn't buy any raffle tickets, if you'd like to, they're still available. For you guys watching at home, they're still available. There's a link in the description so you can buy it. And also to the left, in addition to the raffles, we have an incredible collection over there of some awesome memorabilia. If you guys want to check it out throughout the night, go for it. Like we said, just keep it down throughout the night. All your respect towards the speakers and the guests that are up here.
Just one more thing before we start up here. We've been doing this consignment programs. A lot of people here have done it with us before. If you want to do a consignment, we're doing anything for our high-end stuff, 5, 10 grand and up. Tom right here, he's doing stuff with us right now. Chad Lazar right over here, he's been doing stuff with us. You can name your price. It's a great way if you guys want to improve your collection or sell your stuff. It's the best way to do it. You get the most for your stuff. What else we got on the agenda before we begin?
Thank you for that. Great lineup tonight, guys. A lot of great guests, a lot of great industry experts and super collectors. We'll get to them in a second. Before we do, though, we just want to go through some hobby news. Everybody here is into the hobby, so we just want to run through some crazy things that may have happened over the last couple months.
Hang on real quick. Can everybody hear us okay back there? Are you guys good? Everybody?
Mike check. Henry Yee gave me a peace sign, so he can hear me. Thank you, brother. So hobby news. I'm sure everybody heard that the 8 of the 9 men that were involved in the Yogi Berra Museum burglary were caught. Clap it up. Those are not guys that we want in the hobby or people we want in the hobby, obviously. They stole some incredible pieces of sports history, like Yogi's World Series rings, 2 of his 3 MVP awards. They stole a couple of signed Christy Mathewson contracts. Matty, obviously a tough auto. What else?
Roger Maris's
Maris's MVP, pickup belt for the home run record. Incredible pieces of history over the last 20 years that have been stolen. The story goes that for the rings, some of them were melted down, which is an absolute travesty because the gold content that's in those rings, JB, maybe 1,000, maybe, and Yogi's 61 World Series ring has to be at least $500,000. So, they were able to get their hands on all this crazy stuff, but they ruined it for people like us who love the hobby, so that's just terrible. 8 of the 9 guys were caught. For the 9th one, if you're here tonight, do the right thing and turn yourself in. It's kind of messed up.
And stay away from the curator collection, please.
On a more positive note, some cool auction records lately. Will Chamberlain's rookie jersey just sold an auction for about $1.8 million, which is a record for vintage basketball memorabilia. Awesome piece. Back then he wore it for virtually every home game. It's not like today, guys like Aaron Judge rock his jersey, goes in the locker room. Somebody like Fanatics, scoops it up. They get a different jersey every game, maybe more than one a game. So Wilt wore that jersey essentially every home game in his rookie season for the Philadelphia Warriors. And one of the things that I liked about it, we talked about, is that it came with the shorts, which is just cool because jerseys nowadays, you just see the jersey, no one knows where the shorts are, so it's just cool that it was the full thing.
Yeah, it was great. It had the blood stains on it too. It was photo matched to several different games. The craziest part about that, even though it was a world record at 1.8, was that apparently they got offered $3 million privately before that and turned it down. So you never know. We roll the dice when you do that. So.
That's the risk we take in this hobby, right?
What else we got on
Gretzky's jersey recently sold from his final game for about $750,000, the great one, which is pretty cool. Jersey. And it is a Ranger jersey for all our blue shirt faithful here. I know there's a couple of us. I know there's some Devils fans here, so I'm sorry, boys. We still love you.
What was the deal with that? That was his final game jersey, but not his final jersey, right? Is that, do you know, or?
I believe it was his final game.
Final game, but I think there was like, you did after the beginning of I remember seeing it.
Chris?
We will find out for you.
I will let you know.
Somebody here will tell us.
Fake news.
The Jordan Flu Game shoes, they just sold for $1.4 million, which is a crazy price because I think like 10 years ago or less, they sold an auction for like a little over 100 grand. So just kind of put the market in perspective to where we are today. In 10 years, going from 100K to what did I say, 1.4. Other hobby news, real quick. Fanatics bought PWCC, another auction house, so they're continuing their takeover of the hobby. For better or worse, Fanatics is, they're entrenched into the hobby now. They're also starting a live platform of breaking now, so just crazy how much they're involved in between buying tops and an auction house. The next thing, I guess, is an authentication company for them.
We'll see.
And then we'll have it all.
Eventually, we'll try to get Michael Rubin to speak here one night, but for now, you're stuck with Chris and I. And then last, I don't know if any of you guys saw this recently, but Fox News recently ran a story about an awesome new club that's going on here in New York City at a public school for high school kids, and it's a card collecting company. And we actually have the founder who started that company. Craig is here tonight, and he's going to be our first guest. So, Craig, why don't you come on up, brother?
All right, Craig. So just to correct it, it's a club and not a for-profit company.
Just an after-school club.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. So Craig, I'll let Craig tell his story, but he's a high school math teacher in New York City, and he just started this awesome new club. for some of his students. So Craig, why don't you jump right in, brother?
Yeah, so my name's Craig. First of all, pretty awesome to be here. I've been a card collector my whole life, so to be amongst other collectors is pretty special here. So yeah, I've been a high school math teacher for 9 years. At the beginning of last school year, we just got back from COVID, right? Kids been home for a year and a half. There was like a thirst for activity and a sense of community. So it really was as simple as I had a stack of 30, 40 cards on my desk, probably cards that I just bought from packs from Dwayne Reed or something, and a couple kids came over, they were looking at them, and I just had this idea like, oh, this could be a lot of fun. So I created Card Club, which is an after-school club where, just like we're here gathering, you know, people getting a beer, hanging out, we look at cards and we hang out. And it's really grown since then, and it's a lot of fun for me. The students learn a ton, and I've introduced them to this hobby that we all know.
That's awesome. So tell us a little more about how many students you have. What are they learning? What are you teaching them? Like, what's the typical day?
On a typical day, we'll get, I would say, 15 to 20 students, but probably over the last 2 years, 50 to 60 students have shown up. Now, keep in mind, these are kids who have no idea what the hobby is, what sports cards are, so you got to teach them from scratch. So how do you teach someone such a hobby with so many intricacies from scratch? We look at cards, I try to create different prompts like, hey, find a card that looks cool, or find a card of your favorite player. Now all of a sudden, little by little, they learn what different sets mean. They learn what a rookie card means. They start to understand, why is this card worth 1 penny when this card's worth, you know, 500 bucks? So it's a process over time. You can't expect someone to understand the intricacies of sports cards overnight, but by the end of the year, I had students who knew nothing, who were able to build a collection from scratch from free donations, going to shows, buying, selling, trading, and actually making a little bit of money. So I feel like I taught them the skills that they needed to be participants.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what kind of cards do they do? Sports cards, baseball cards, football, trading cards?
Actually, yeah, so sports cards, obviously, and there is a big population of Pokemon card collectors, too. That's why we don't call it Sports Card Club, it's just Card Club. So whether you like baseball, basketball, I have a lot of UFC fans. There's a lot of Pokemon collectors, so if you have any interest on something where cards have been made, any student is welcome to come and join.
So you mentioned some of the skills that these kids are learning by trading cards, which are, you know, skills that we pick up every day. What are they learning other than just flipping cards and, you know, getting the player they like? You know, are you seeing a difference in the classroom as a result of the card club and, you know, things that they're learning that they can apply outside of just, you know, hey, let me get that Pokemon card because it's cool?
Yeah, I mean, a simple one is just public speaking and people skills. As a teacher, I stand up in front of the classroom every day, so talking to a group of people is natural to me, but 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, it is not the same. They freeze up when they're talking in front of a group of people. So all of a sudden you go to a show and you have to talk to dealers, and you're making deals, and even just talking to your classmates and negotiating and trying to trade, just personal skills that they wouldn't be able to channel elsewhere, but just through trading cards, personal skills, life skills, negotiating skills, and markets as well, right? Prices rise, prices fall. Where do you buy, where do you sell something? So yeah, we're having fun. We are collecting our favorite teams and players, but there's a lot of life and business skills that come along with it.
So is it mainly just collecting, or is there a lot of business? Are people making a lot of money doing this, or a little bit, or are they trying to do it to, you know, as a job?
Vast majority of them, it's definitely just collecting. I'll have even some students come and say, oh, my brother really likes Jason Tatum. So they'll look through some boxes, find some Jason Tatum cards, and now they got a gift to bring home to one of their kids. But there are a handful of kids who really fell in love with the value of it, because I mean, come on, these are like young kids, young entrepreneurs. My school that I teach at is called the Business of Sports School. So it's a perfect fit. And those are the kids who, they're taking scans of cards, they're looking up the values, they're selling them, whether they're going to local shops around here and selling them, or going to shows and making deals. It's pretty special to see that in just a few months they're able to make a little bit of money off of cardboard.
Yeah, I think it's a great connection for everybody here too, because most of us, that's how we started. Maybe not in a club, but you know, we started going to shows or making a deal on eBay or something, and that's how you kind of get sucked in and hooked into the hobby. Whether you do it as professionally as a career or it's just a hobby for you in the future, but like you said, you have great life skills, personal finances, just you know, learning public speaking, like you mentioned as well. which is awesome. But tell us a little bit about who are these students? You mentioned it was a public business, a sports school. Is this a public school, private school? Who are these kids?
It's a public school. We're on 49th and Hell's Kitchen. If you've ever seen the basketball courts around there, that's our school building. And these are, it's not like these kids are graduating, going to become sports agents, but our school does offer a lot of classes like sports management, entrepreneurship classes, marketing. We have a ton of connections with the NBA, the NFL, and other sports-related businesses, so it just made perfect sense to me. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I invented this idea. I know there are other after-school card clubs, but I think what sets us apart is it's going to extend beyond the classroom. So yes, we're looking at cards. These kids are building collections from scratch for free. That was a big part of it, is that these kids can't really afford to go buy expensive slabs or boxes of cards. So luckily, the hobby community has been very generous in just donating cards. What someone who sells cards full time, a $5, $10 card to them may be nothing, but that's the start of a collection for a kid who doesn't have a job and can't really afford it. So
what's next for the card collecting club, and where do you see this going? Where do you want this to turn into, or who do you want to?
So that was the point I was going to make, was I didn't invent this idea. I'm not going to sit here and claim like it was the first card club ever made, but I do think what sets us apart is, one, we're at the business of sports school, so the opportunities are there, but it's extending opportunities beyond just looking at cards. So we're going to go on a field trip to Brigandi Collectibles next year, for example. Last year I took my kids on a field trip to Bleecker Trading, which is a shop downtown, I'm sure a lot of us know, and they were incredible at not only giving my students some swag and some packs to open, but just letting them know how the business works. So like, hey, we're looking at cards, we're building a collection, but this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So yeah, there's a business behind it. So yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna look at cards, but we're at the business of sports school. Why don't you learn how this works? Learn, eat stuff like allocation and, like we said, marketplaces.
So, obviously, we always do show and tell with our guests, right? So, Craig, you brought a few items, but before we go into that, I just want to throw this out there. You mentioned we're going to do a field trip. You guys are going to come through, which is awesome, and we can't wait for it. It's going to be fun. But we would also, like to donate to the club, right? So we're definitely going to be donating,
Yeah, we're definitely in for that.
So we're going to be donating $200 worth of cards to the club for you being here, and just, you're building a community for the kids, which is awesome, which is what we're trying to do here. Craig, you're going to be hanging out all night, grab a drink, hanging out. So guys, Craig is going to be here. If you can link up with him or link up with us to get his information, maybe you guys can help him out, help the club out to continue the hobby. I will open it up to the floor right now, and if anybody, is open to, anybody want to raise a hand and maybe donate.
Tom,
thank you very much. Alan, thank you. Danny Brassam, thank you. Will Stroud, thank you guys. We started Collectors Night. Chris, I see you. Not to put anybody on the spot, but we started Collectors Night to build a community. It's not about trading. It's not a trade night. Which trade nights are awesome, but this is just because everybody here loves the hobby. Let's talk about it. Build a community. You're doing that for the next generation of collectors, man. So we definitely want to help out, and obviously a lot of people here want to take part in it. So the card club, it's pretty awesome, and awesome what you're doing, brother.
It really means a lot, and the $200, that's going to go a long way. Even if it's buying wax, you should have seen some of the kids last year, how thrilled they got opening boxes and packs. Like, that joy, right? We all started at some point opening packs, so to be able to share that with them was unbelievable. So thank you guys.
Everybody here still gets that feeling, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. There's still something about tearing open that pack.
Yeah, and then one thing I do want to add, first of all, I got to shout out my guy Luis right there. The only reason this was all possible is because Luis is friends with the Fox 5 producer who ran the story. So Luis put the good word. Max, the producer, reached out to me. And
Nicely done, Luis.
listen, I'm not gonna lie, some opportunities have presented themselves since that news story came out, but it's not about me at all. I don't even like the spotlight. Everything that comes from this, everything that comes from this and the club is all about creating experiences for my students. I remember a student said something to me a while back that really stuck with me. He said the teachers he remembers are the ones that try to make things happen for the students. So, 2 years into Card Club, and I hope it just continues for as many years as I'm still teaching.
So do we, brother. So do we. Cheers to that.
Thank you so much. We're going to go right into show and tell real quick with Greg. If anybody has questions, we're going to do a little Q&A session too. So you can feel free to come right up here. But let's start with the show and tell in the meantime.
So,
You're a collector too, I hope, right?
Oh, since anyone here know Royal Collectibles in Queens? When I was 6, 7 years old, my grandpa used to take me to that shop. He would say, hey, you want to go get tickets? That's what he called cards. So my collecting started in Queens in the 90s. I knew there'd be a lot of vintage here, so I brought a 1960 Emmett's Journal Cassius Clay and a PSA 1.5. But it has some of those, like the rings when the inside of the plastic touches the surface. So if only there's someone here that works for a different grading company that might be able to offer me a little.
I'm not too sure.
We got Steinberg back there.
So this is Cassius Clay rookie card from 1960, considered his rookie card, but it came from a magazine in Sweden in 1960 when he won the gold medal when he was 18. Obviously, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, a cultural icon, so happy to have this one.
I'll hold that for you, and while for the next item before you grab it. Does something like this resonate with 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, or is it just like, let me see that Pokemon card?
Well, important thing to note, Cassius Clay especially, my student population is 65% Latino and 35% African American. So not the students you typically would see at card shows. Let's be honest with ourselves here. So trying to create a little more diversity and inclusion in the hobby has been a big factor of this card club. So they're loving it, and obviously seeing athletes that look like them on cards is pretty important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this has kind of emerged as like the Muhammad Ali Cassius Clay rookie over the years.
Oh, yeah.
A card that probably didn't get the attention it should have had, and in the last few years, man, this is the card now. It's a hand cut, like you said from the journal. It's an awesome card.
I'll be keeping that for a while.
Yeah.
Where's Jeffrey? I was talking to Jeffrey earlier. There's my guy. I teased a couple cards for him. Any Knicks fans in here? New York Knicks, there you go. So for me, my favorite time to collect was the 2000s, especially like SP Game Used. So here I have a 06, 07 SP Game Used Walt Frazier, Bernard King, dual patch auto. Nice blue, orange, white patches. That's one of my favorite cards as a diehard Knicks fan.
Swish and edition with Clyde and Bernard King.
Nicely done.
You like that?
And the last one, I don't know if a lot of people know about this card. Does anyone know when Ichiro first played in the United States? That's what everybody thinks. He actually had a stint playing in Hawaii in 1993. He played for the Hilo Stars. Do you know who else, Jeffrey, played for the Hilo Stars? Babe Ruth. So 1993, the Hawaii Winter League created a card set, and in 2001 they made a reprint set. So I was in Hilo for my honeymoon 2 years ago, and we were in the shop, and they had a bunch of really cool memorabilia, including this Ichiro, which I had never seen before. So this is not the original 93, it is the reprint from 2001, still super low population. And what's cool about this, not only I got it on my honeymoon, so there's a nice personal touch to it, but I got it raw, and it came back a Beckett 9.5, a True Gem Plus. So this was sitting in a shop in Hilo, Hawaii, raw for 20 years, and the owner kept it good enough that came back at 9.5. So that's a forever keeper for me. Obviously, there's getting it on my honeymoon.
That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, the stories.
I love you sharing the club. I love the cards you got here. Thanks so much for coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Craig. Come over to him, make sure they go throughout the night. If anybody has questions, if not, I think we're just going to take a short break. Everybody grab a drink, grab some food, come right back. We're going to have Ben Weingarten and Nick Key as a first panel for the night.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks
so
Craig.
much.
Tax on the beat, beat, beat. Nuts on the beat. Snacks on the beat.
Panel. If everybody doesn't mind taking a seat, coming back in from the bar area, we're going to get started here. We have Nick T from Game 7 Authentics and Ben Weingarten of Weingarten's Vintage. So come on in, boys, and everybody else give them a round of applause and get settled. All right, guys, we're getting started right now. If we can have everybody's attention, please. Like I said, all the way at the end here is Nick Key from Game 7 Authentics. We have Ben Weingarten, who's back for round 2. He was here last June. Weingarten's Vintage, original photographs. And there's a reason we put you both on the same panel, is because you guys you collect things that we like to call almost like emerging markets, where yes, people have been collecting original photography, and yes, people have been collecting inscription baseballs for a long time, but they have really blown up in the last few years. So that's the theme here. That's why we want you both on these panels. So Nick, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little about who you are, what you do, what you collect, and why you do it.
Well, my name is Nick Key. I'm from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I collect signed baseballs with different inscriptions from Hall of Famers. Basically anything that tells the history of the game is what I collect. And that's how I got into selling this stuff. I'm actually a full-time occupational therapist, and I work with memory care patients in assisted living facilities around the Oklahoma City area. But I got into collecting signed baseballs, and then as my collection grew, I started selling more stuff to other collectors trying to collect the sets, and it just snowballed into Game 7 Authentics, which I created in 2015. So, and we just do anything that people are looking for with inscribed baseballs, and that's all my collection is pretty much. So.
What do I have?
So same question, Ben. Tell us how you got started in the hobby, what you collect, and why you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as a kid, just like most of us probably, collecting something. Probably sports. Mine was sports cards. And went to college, couldn't afford the stuff I wanted as an adult. So saw the opportunity in photography, and I went with it. You know, I loved it. That's kind of how it evolved. I went all in, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and
Oh, and I sell bags. I sell packaging. I'm not in medicine, so. But my wife is back there. She's in medicine, so I guess.
Thank you for coming.
But that's one thing I did want to mention with the both of you also is that, yeah, you guys are crazy collectors. You guys sell stuff too, but that's part-time. You guys have full-time jobs. This is started as a passion, and I'm sure it still is a passion for you. So just another reason we like having you guys up here, because just a passion, really. So let's get into photos, Ben. I guess some people here probably know about photos. Many probably don't. So can you just take us real quick, like how do you collect photos, the type system, just kind of break the basics down real quick.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Henry E. Marshall Fogel. Henry E., I call him Yoda. He's kind of the godfather. He's back here.
Thank you for coming, Henry.
Thanks for coming, Henry. He's the man. I mean, he's the one who put structure really into photography. Obviously, photography is what it is. It's always been what it is. But Henry put structure under it, and it really took it to the next level. He is a great friend and very passionate about this stuff. And what a type 1 photo is, in a nutshell, that's what everybody wants. That is off the original negative within approximately 2 years of when it was taken, right? So you have the clarity, you have the quality, and you have the time period of when it was created. And then, everything after that is really in the eye of the beholder. It's photography is time, it's time and what it's off of. And you can have a type 2, clear as day, or later. You can have a type 3 at the time, not quite as clear, wider photo. The type system, what I would say is buy Henry's book. It's kind of the Bible of sports photography. It's portrait baseball photography. There is a giveaway. It's a new book that came out that kind of builds off of that. It wouldn't be here, in my opinion, without Henry's book. But it is amazing, and it's by Jim Chapman, and I did bring one to give away with whoever draws the card.
Thanks for the giveaway. So just talking about the photo, the type systems, obviously you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 obviously being the best, but not always, you can't always get a type 1 photo, right? And it's not like baseball cards where, there's one card from that issue, that's the rookie card and that's it. There's several different types of photos, different images, different angles, different clarities, and that's kind of the beauty of photography.
That's the beauty of it all, because there's so much research. Like, if you're passionate and you put time into it, you can really find little, mini niches, even within the same, collecting space. Like, there's no type 1, for example. Okay, there's no type 1 model. This is probably why they probably threw them all away. There's a type 3 at the time, and there's 1 type. Now all of a sudden, that type 3 or type 2 is worth more than maybe a type 3 or type 2 would be over here when there's a bunch of it. So that it's an evolving thing, it's numbers, it's their art pieces, really is what they are, and they're historic.
So a lot of people here collect cards, and everybody here is chasing low population. You know, that card in a PSA 10 or an SGC 10, there's only, 20 of them known, which is low pop. So collectors love low population. Nick will touch on population with, your collection as well. But sometimes in photos, like you said, there may not be a type 1, or if there is, there's only 2 of them. So more often than not, like pop on type 1 photos is less than a card, and people don't realize that. But people are looking for rare stuff, right?
Well, that's why I even brought up, like, even if there's no type 1, the best photo is this.
It could be a type 3, but there's only 2, there's only a couple of them.
Yes, I mean, in general, and you never in memorabilia, and I implore everyone to buy ones. I see it all the time on social. Everyone tries to down something else to get their stuff out there, and I love cards. I love it all, but like I brought the jacket here last time, and there was 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, that was the 47 leaf Jackie image, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's probably one that, depending on, it's all 5, 10, 15 or less of a photo, maybe. And how many cards in each one, So, yeah, it's not in a box, and that's why cards are. I get it.
Right. So on top of how rare they are, the beauty of them, you have like a little system that I guess you created yourself, right? You call them the 3 C's?
Well, Henry, it's in his book. What is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, from Henry. Of course, it all comes back to
He's the
Yoda.
one who
Yeah. So tell us real quick about the strategy that you applied to.
I grew up, I literally grew up with cards, and I had no idea who made it a good segue into the first thing I had. The first photo I bought. Condition, clarity, 2 of them, right?
Content.
Content's great. But Henry outlined that in his book, and there's so many guides to go by photography, and it's evolving. But those are 3 of them.
So we're gonna go over to Nick. Kind of like the same thing. Tell us about the inscription market, and obviously, baseball cards are like the backbone of the hobby, right? But the first autograph someone buys is usually a signed baseball.
Right. So signed baseballs are something that's out there. All these guys like Mantle and Mays and Aaron and Williams and Joe D. They all signed in the 80s and 90s at shows, and they all signed their name.
And a lot of them, right?
They signed a lot of them. So, in this hobby, quality over quantity is everything. It's that way with cards. There's a million Michael Jordan rookie cards out there. How many Jim Mint 10s are there? Exactly. So, inscriptions just add value because there's not many out there. They've become a thing that's very common today. Players today have caught on to it very well. They'll have a certain list that they'll do. They'll do a certain amount of them. Some people want 20 inscriptions, they'll only do 5 of them. So to find the inscriptions of the guys like Mantle and Mays and Williams who didn't like to do them back in the day, it's just something that's very rare in a lot of them, and they're just continuing to go up in value with the increase in the market of everything else in the hobby.
So for guys like Mantle and DiMaggio, was it that they would refuse to do that, or was it more that people just didn't think to ask at the time, whereas now everybody's like, Aaron Judge, can you write All Rise on my ball? Something like that. Were people asking Mantle to write cool stuff in addition to his name, or did they just not think to do it?
Well, from what I've heard, I was only 4 when Mantle died. I was born in 91, so I never got the chance to stand in line for all these signings. But from what I've heard is that people didn't ask. And if they did, players got annoyed with it, and sometimes they would do it, sometimes they wouldn't. But then, as we were talking with Kevin yesterday, he told us kind of about how he started it with Whitey Ford. People would mail into him, and they would request all this other stuff. Whitey would get annoyed with it, so then they came up with the idea to start charging for the inscriptions. So, and I think it just kind of snowballed into that kind of stuff. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of the Mantle and the Mays and the big time guys, but then today you see everyone signs their name with HOF after they get in.
So you're a pro at pairing a signature with something cool notation, or finding those items that are out there that have them. Something that we talked about last week, Ben, maybe you can share with everybody, is pairing photos with certain things. You know, it's not just having the photograph itself. Maybe you get something else, you know, to go with the photo. That's a cool showpiece. You're creating a masterpiece with a photo and then something else, maybe an autograph or a ticket or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it starts with the autograph, right? We're gonna put it on the wall. You guys do a lot of that, just professional pieces.
Yeah, original photo with an autograph underneath.
I mean, that's kind of the first deal, but yeah, you add a ticket. You add a piece of like a pin back. You add what else are we talking about? Tickets are huge.
Tickets are huge.
Tickets, cards,
I mean, it's
jerseys,
photos,
jerseys,
and yeah.
there's so many forms of memorabilia that you know, that's kind of one of the things that I had in the back of my head always too, right? I collected early stuff, and I collected stuff that was poignant, and a lot of that was what was used a lot, what did people see a lot, you know, what's in our memory, what's in our mind, what Americana, right, history. So that's kind of how I collected it,
Yeah, I know Nick does the same thing, you know. Yes, you love the inscription walls, but your home collection, you know, it's just, when you can put other things together, it's beautiful. So tell us something that you got. Yeah.
So like my Mickey Mantle display has all the signed baseballs, but then it has a jersey, a helmet, and a bat. The jersey I actually purchased from you, but everything is just it's more aesthetically pleasing whenever you have some diversity in there. But the signed baseballs, they look great, but the other stuff just helps tell the story just as much. So it just adds a little bit more eye appeal, and it's a lot more fun too. So yeah,
We always say at the store, set your collection apart. You know, don't just buy a Yogi Berra single. Buy, you know, it ain't over till it's over. And you guys, the reason you're here is because you've set your collections apart, and it's just a good strategy because it's fun to enjoy it, but it also increases the value too. So it's, you know, just a great strategy to collect.
Real quick with value on inscription balls, give us an idea, Nick, of how much just a few words on a ball, like an inscription, can add to the value. Whether it's Rivera or if it's Mantle or, you know, Yogi.
So for Ted Williams, for example, Ted Williams, you get a ball for $300. One recently sold, it was signed by Ted. He just added 521. There's a bunch of 500 home run club inscription collectors, and Ted Williams is the absolute hardest one to find. I've seen maybe 10, probably less than that actually. But the 521 added, just those 3 letters, the ball sold for $13,000. So
300 to 13,000 with just 3 digits. Not even a word, just numbers.
it all depends on the inscription too. You know, like a 406 Ted sells for like $800. So it depends on the set that you're collecting. Mantle's the same way. If you want a mantle that's with HOF, you're going to be spending around $2,500 now. Whereas you're going to get an average baseball signed by Mickey Mantle for $800. So, but then mantle inscriptions are some of the most sought out in the entire hobby. I mean, they go anywhere from, you can get a number 7 for $1,000 all the way up to my most expensive one that I've ever paid for was, besides the one I'll show tonight, is the Oklahoma Kid ball. Me being from Oklahoma, it's just one I had to have. I paid, I think, $18 grand for that. So it just it varies. So
Just to piggyback real quick on the Oklahoma Kid ball, you're actually giving away a Mike Trout inscription ball tonight as well. But Mike Trout, the Millville Meteor, right? So that's an inscription that everybody's been chasing now. But to compare like Mantle, who didn't do the Oklahoma Kid, maybe there's a dozen out there, if that?
I was told that he did a dozen Oklahoma Kids, and I think he did a few more Commerce Comics, which that's the more sought out after nickname for Mantle, the Commerce Comics. So,
but comparing to like Mike Trout, like must be so watered down. How many does he sign?
Oh, I mean Trout signs 4 times a year, so. But he won't do that inscription now. He hasn't done it for 2 years, but he did it for 8 years. So how many times did he sign it over the last 8 years? So he probably signed it more in the first signing than he signed it than Mantle ever did.
So the vintage versus modern conversation comes up at every single one of these. Those who have been here, you guys are used to it by now. you've touched on it, mantle inscriptions, lower population, more valuable, that compared to modern. Now, Ben, on the flip side of that, modern versus vintage photography type ones, when you start talking late 80s, 90s photos, it's not necessarily the case. Sometimes, modern photos, there's high value to that. So, maybe you could tell everybody the comparison between vintage and modern.
Henry, help Henry. No, in general, that's right. So it parallels quite a bit here because it's interesting what you said here. We have these inscriptions, right? You have Upper Deck that got involved, and then you have this time when Mantle and these players signed all the stuff and signed everything, and their agents got involved in Bosch. And then Upper Deck came, and there's like this little. I had no idea that there's like 10 out of thought managers at the end just signed whatever the heck you want, right? And that's in my mind. Like, it's just in my head, man. There's a million dollars out there, right? But in photography, it's interesting because you have this the old stuff. It's really rare. Like Babe Ruth, Red Sox stuff, nothing, right? One of a kind type stuff. Maybe 2 was printed. They had local stuff. They didn't have the news agencies sending photos to all these other ones and satellites, and photography wasn't there yet. And then you have the late 20s, 30s going, and then there's a ton of them printed, 50s, 60s, whatever. Then you get to the 80s and 90s and things start going digital. And the dark room goes away a little bit, right? You're not making dark room prints. You're not taking the time to do that. Why? Why would you do that? Or there's so many things that happen to photography. Like Derek Jeter. Not a lot of Derek Jeter type ones left. Because it's in this weird little transition. And you don't know that unless you start collecting it and realize it. All this work and years. So collecting, things evolve. There's huge opportunity. When you have information. I think you've got a lot of, obviously, all these hours and hours and hours exploring, learning. You did well.
I would spend my days in college on the computer looking at autographs.
Well, yeah, mine wasn't quite college, but maybe half. No, but yeah, I spent a lot of hours. It's what it takes, unless someone's willing to share it and take you under the wing. I was fortunate to have some mentors. But
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Collectors Night's about. It's learning about different parts of the hobby and sharing it. And I hope if anybody's interested, what these guys are saying, that you'll reach out to them and they'll teach you. And just as Ben was taken under someone's wing, he's a great guy. He's happy to do the same. So definitely reach out to Ben and Nick about this stuff. We got a couple more questions before we go into the show and tell. We want to see here. What's something that you guys have bought and maybe sold or traded from that is like your biggest regret to this day? Whoever wants to go first, go right ahead.
Well, mine is something that you're familiar with. I think it was 2018. There was a Jackie Robinson, Zach Wheat, and Max Carey signed baseballs. They were all three signed on the same ball, displayed as a single with Jackie, but they all wrote their Hall of Fame inscriptions. Something that I've never seen Jackie do. Jackie actually wrote "Best Wishes, Jackie Robinson, Brooklyn Dodgers, Hall of Fame, 1962." It was on this Instagram account from Brigandi Collectibles. So I'd never talked to you guys before, I don't think, or maybe I bought like a $100 baseball card before. But I messaged you, asked how much it was. We came to a deal with it, and I actually had to get a loan for that ball. It was just one of those that I had to have because I collect HOF inscriptions, and I think there's a possible of 160 some, and I have 145, I think. So it's really hard to collect that set, especially now that Jackie will never be a part of it again. But I had it 2 weeks later. I got an offer from Fanatics where I made a substantial amount of money on it. It was the most I ever made on baseball at the time. I contemplated it for days. I mean, it helped me grow my business, but at the same time, like I'll never see it again. And
Yeah, that was our
I'll
first
never be able
development
to,
too, yeah.
I'll never be able to replace it for what I sold it for. So.
Yeah, for me there's a couple, plenty actually. I mean, when you're like kind of the first one to do research and like identify something, and then you put it out there and you have the limited marketing skills, right? And then you sell it, someone buys into this story. It's always a big hit. It's always this guy that has more money and it's more money. One was the Clay Powell, Joe Jackson photo I found them. I bought that for like $8 grand at the show, and all of my buddies, all of my memorabilia buddies were just so passionate. Like, are you out of your mind? Right? And now they're like, you were right. Photos, you know. So that's one of them. Another one is.
How long ago was that, real quick, the Jackson? Like recent or?
7 years ago, maybe I sold it. You know. You brought up the Brigandi thing, so I have to bring up the Brigandi thing. You guys had a GPC of Babe Ruth, and it was dated the Babe Bowser day, and I bought it, and I had the photo, a sister photo, not the Babe Bowser with Marie, but one of them walking up with Beller, and I partnered it up with that. I put it at auction. You guys got this is special. You guys better market this thing. I mean, it did okay, but nothing like it. You guys were. If you had that right now, that'd be insane. It was the date of Babe Bow's out. You know, I have the ticket. I have the Babe Bow's out. Supposedly the first one off the negative. Oh my God, that one hurts. And I bought that for you guys. So. You sold it for less than I did. Yes. You don't even remember.
Before we get into show and tell, everybody in the hobby has that piece that they're like, oh, if I only had that back. But if you thought about that every single time, you wouldn't enjoy yourselves as much as you did. So you got to look forward, buy the next thing. We always wish we could have something back. With that said, you guys brought a few pieces that you haven't sold yet to show everybody here some awesome stuff. So let's go right into show and tell and see what's going on.
Yeah, we're gonna do show and tell, guys. Also, Q&A after show and tell. If you guys have any questions for Nick or Ben, just come right up here. We'll give you a mic and just scream it out. But I guess we'll start here with Nick. I'm excited for everybody to see these. He's got some incredible inscription balls. Super, super rare, like we were talking earlier.
Chris Brigandi, Hall of Fame, 98.
I only did one of those.
So this first ball that I brought, it's actually one I just added last week. There's 24 members of the 300 Win Club, and that's actually the hardest set to complete because most of the 300 Win guys were all pre-war, so it's hard enough to find a single sign at all of most of them, let alone an inscribed one. But this one is signed by Lefty Grove with his win-loss record on it. Inscribed 300 and 147. That I know it's really hard to see. So
Yeah, we'll do some close-ups here. So have you seen that before? How many would you guess?
I think I had seen that one like sit in an auction house. I think it was on like Iconic Auctions at one point. And I didn't bid on it, but I purchased the collection last week and it was actually in there, so that one was one that I'm actually keeping in my own collection. That's kind of the bad thing about being a collector and a dealer is that you want to keep everything, but it's kind of hard sometimes. So, but these next three pieces are all three things that I'll be keeping for as long as I collect. If I sold these things, like why would I collect? So, the first one is a period auto Roger Maris single sign baseball on a Joe Cronin official American League ball. Signed in green ink, and he actually inscribed 61 and 61. This ball became a lot more popular last year with Judge breaking the record. So it's actually probably my favorite ball in my entire collection.
Nick, what's something like that worth roughly compared to just a generic Maris single, which isn't so generic? I mean, that's a tough ball to begin with.
So a normal Maris ball signed on like a McPhail, nice, bluey, sweet spot, worth around like 10 grand now. This one, 2 years ago, I think maybe, I paid $28,000 for it. So it was the most I'd ever spent on a baseball at the time. So.
Are you gonna ask Aaron Judge to put his name on it too? Please don't do it. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding.
It's funny you say that because when I work with Fanatics a lot. They've been looking for, after Judge broke it, they were like, do you have any Maris single sign balls? And I did, and I said, why? And they added Aaron Judge to every single one of them. So the Maris single sign ball market is a lot smaller now. This next ball it's actually not a signed ball. I'm a big Cardinals fan, so I'm actually a Cardinals and Rangers fan. So 2011, the World Series between the Cardinals and Rangers was my absolute dream matchup. I always told everyone that I wanted the Cardinals and the Rangers to make it. I wanted to go 7 games, and I wanted the Cardinals to win. And that's exactly what happened. As most of you guys all know, if you're baseball fans, the Rangers were 1 strike away twice from winning the whole thing. And this ball is actually the triple that David Freese hit to tie the game in the 9th inning, scoring Albert Pujols and Lance Berkman, the one that went over Nelson Cruz's head. So the story behind this ball, it is MLB authenticated, but it's MLB authenticated to the very next play. So what happened was, whenever Freese hit the ball, it rattled all the players obviously. The ball went from Nelson Cruz, went to Elvis Andrus, who went to Adrian Beltre, back to Neftali Feliz. Neftali Feliz never threw it out. It's been confirmed by different angles from fan cameras from YouTube. So the very next pitch, Yadier Molina was up. Very next pitch, as you can imagine, he was rattled, threw it right in the dirt. Ball goes away. They sticker it as a Yadier Molina pitch in the dirt. Yadier Molina was using a blonde bat, so he didn't hit it anyway, but David Freese was using a black bat. And there's actually a black mark here to identify that Freese hit it. So what happened was, how it came to the market, because obviously a ball like that should be in the Hall of Fame. It was actually sold by the Cardinals as a generic ball used from Game 6. The collectors figured it out that it was the next pitch. They identified it. Mears authenticated it. They did a story on it in St. Louis on the news, and then it came up for auction. And the guy who actually won it, I met him on a Facebook group and found out I lived 30 minutes from him. So, and we both live in Oklahoma, so to find something like that 30 minutes away from you, I pestered him enough to sell it. I said, if you ever want to sell it, let me know. So he sold it to me, and here it is. So
That's an awesome story. And you got one more.
So this is a big time ball. As I mentioned earlier about Mickey Mantle and inscriptions, he didn't like to do them. He would do them occasionally, but nothing to the extent of this. This ball is actually in Greer Johnson's collection. So it's a Mickey Mantle signed baseball where he actually wrote out Hall of Fame 1974, and then he also added 4 other inscriptions. So it's one of a kind, from what I've seen anyway. Mickey Mantle signed stat baseball with Hall of Fame 1974. His MVP inscription, 536 home runs, his Triple Crown, and 18 World Series. So that's also one of my favorite pieces in my collection, and it's probably number 2. So 1A and 1B between the Maris and
Mantles.
and the population on something like that? Like 1 of 1, 1 of 2 probably?
I mean, I can't say,
Right.
because I mean, I've seen 2 stat balls. This is the only clean one. The other one I've seen was really toned. It had 1 less inscription, and it had a personalization on it. So he would do it
So
for,
1 of 1.
yeah, from what I've seen. So, but he would do it for people that he knew, and do it as a favor.
And what's that worth, the mantle stat ball? Roughly.
I've turned down 50,000, so I put it at that. So
Yeah. Wow.
it's just can't do it.
Incredible stuff, man.
Thank
So
you.
I'm excited now. I'm going to give Nick a round of applause. Crazy collection. And Ben's going to go ahead, and I'll kind of let him surprise you guys with how it pertains to Nick's collection as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. $50,000. I mean, before we talked, again, man, I never, but you put all these things together. Everyone collects different things, and I want to buy that. I want something. You're getting
100 grand.
like, I want the 1 of 1 stuff. Is a mentality that we all have, collectors have, and there's a time where enough's enough, but you get to that point where you hit the peak, like Mantle, right? Because Mantle's silent. So if you want some unique Mantle stuff, or wants the most unique stuff, you knew that when you collected that, and where he has it. But I did, Chris asked me to bring a Mantle item to kind of pair with your ball, and I did bring a original Type 1 Jacob Ella's Mickey Mantle rookie photo, and it's a pretty famous image. It was used for a couple cards. One being a stat. I think it was a 60 stat. Jeter, but it's a great Mantle photo. It's made for many exhibit cards. One being a staff card, which I thought would tie it together.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, it just shows again you compare like items, like figures, like players.
Yeah, it really enhances the collection, right? When you see it next to the photo and.
Yeah, I mean, by itself, any one of these by themselves is kind of a museum piece. Is if you look at the 1 of 1, but the layman, I mean, I was a layman in the game in that, but you pair them both together, then it really becomes something crazy. Like a half of a half. But it becomes a more special. So that's that one. I did bring a card image, Joe Jackson. It's a Type 1 photo. In photography, Charles Conlon is considered one of the fathers of photography. It's catchphrase, but he's considered like the guy. That is a contact print, which means it's off the original negative, not blown up. The entire image, the size of the negative, which I love because what that does is there's no distortion. It's exactly the same size. It's not blown up. There's no blurriness. I mean, you can scan that. I mean, and then you can roll it up. And it's amazing. And in person, it's amazing. And that one actually is used for his last strip card. I do have the card.
So those are the cards that the Mantle image was used for, and that's the strip there. That's amazing.
So again, card images and anything you can tie them to, right? Anything that's iconic is thrown around quite a bit these days. It's thrown around, but Americana. And then, of course, I brought this. Chris asked me to bring something that kind of tied some sort of form of memorabilia outside cards. And it just so happens that, by golly, he has something to sell.
So I have a 61 ticket up, which I believe is on display.
We were talking about, creating vintage masterpieces, right? So Nick Key brings his Maris 61 and 61 ball. Ben has the Type 1 original photo from Maris's iconic 61st home run. And of course, this is my original ticket because I went to the game in 1961. But no, this is an original bleacher ticket from thank you very much, Yankee Stadium, when Maris hit this ball. So we're talking about setting your collection apart, pairing things together, just enhancing it. Here are three incredible pieces, put on a shelf, and you're just setting your collection apart from one of the most iconic moments in Major League history. So it's just awesome, awesome stuff.
Appreciate a lot from Fargo too.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, Ben and Nick came from Oklahoma, Ben from Fargo, North Dakota, so flying in to do this and
Only for you guys.
appreciate it, brother. But showing off just incredible stuff.
Hey guys, if anybody has a question real quick for Ben or Nick, just come on up here. Otherwise, guys, another round of applause for these guys. Thanks for coming in, guys. Thank you. Real quick, guys, we're taking a break. Go get some food, get some drinks. Come up here, meet Nick and Ben, and take some pictures of this awesome stuff.
Knocks on the beat, beat, beat.
Oser, Huggins and Scott. John Brigandi, our very own. So guys, grab your drinks, head to your seats please. We're going to start right now. Actually, make sure you use the chair. Cece, yeah, you're good there. Let me get one more chair. Cece, let's do it. Do it.
Minute 14 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, good one.
Here, pass this down to Brian. Ronnie.
Mr. O.
JB.
Mr. John.
Hey guys, we're starting right now. All right guys, grab your seats. Thank you. We hope you're all having a good time so far. Please help yourself to all the food and drink. We still have the raffles going on if anybody wants to get raffle tickets. Over here at the front desk, or if you're watching live stream on YouTube or Instagram, you can buy them through the link. But we are ready to start here. We have Ryan Dwyer from Robert Edward Auctions, Ron Oser from Hug and Scott Auctions, our very own John Brigandi, and then stuff with CC and I as well.
Sorry. JB, any words for the room?
You're good. Am I hot? Cool. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I'll just reiterate our mission statement, which is just basically that we all are a community. It's a club here. Money is kind of irrelevant because it's all about money, but we all do very well, right? It's about uniting all of us, and we should all be helping each other. I think one of the Chris's mentioned if you have any questions of you need some help in the area of inscribed baseballs, you go to Nick Key. He's more than happy to help. If you go to photos, of course you go to Ben or our Yoda in the back, who I've known for a long time. He's a sweetheart. And you know, listen, if you have any problems with pre-war, you go to these guys. These guys are mavens on that. So we're here to help. You know, of course, you can always call us for help. So I'm glad that everybody came out. And lastly, where is don't tell me he left. The owner of SGC. Where are you? Come over here. David. David's gone? David's downstairs. Okay.
We got Pete talking.
I just wanted to thank David for coming. He doesn't come out for very many things, but he came out for this, which is pretty impressive. Anyway, you're on, kid.
All right, so real quick, two presidents of auction companies. That's why you guys are here together. Very respectable auction companies. Brian, introduce yourself, and before getting into the auction business, how'd you get involved in the hobby?
Yeah, so my name is Brian Dwyer. I'm the president of Robert Edward Auctions. We are a legacy legacy company, been around for more than 30 years, specialize in sports cards, all 4 major sports, non-sports, memorabilia, game used autographs. My origin story is not too dissimilar from a lot of people here. Started as a kid, went to school, thought I was going to be a banker. Economy crashed. Was 15 minutes from SGC's office, and I said, "You looking for any help?" And I got an internship at SGC, turned it into a full-time job, worked there for a couple years. Missed the buying and the selling, so I started my own auction company, sold that to work for REA, and then I took over REA 7 years ago. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, but all very good and all very insightful, and I love what I'm doing every day.
And Ron, same for you. How'd you get started early on?
I started in 1975. I opened up one of the first comic book stores in the country in Philadelphia. By 1980, I discovered baseball cards, and we started incorporating baseball cards into our company. And then in the 90s, I attended my first national in 1984, so this is coming up this month is my 40th. I haven't missed one.
A hobby legend.
And then over the years, I worked for various auction houses that we can do a little later. Here I am.
So I'm going to follow up real quick, Ron. Since 1976 at a comic book store to now, how has the hobby, but also how has the auction business kind of changed over that time span?
Money, money, money. I brought actually 2 examples, if I could do it real quick.
Absolutely, please do.
So I was going through some paperwork and I found one of my auction catalogs from 1997. So 26 years ago. Well, first of all, the way we did auctions back then, there was no internet, no computers. Everything was done over the telephone. We would fill all the walls in the auction room with pieces of paper, and we would write the bids down as they came in. The people that were calling in never knew what the current bid was. And it was just a bunch of people on telephones and wires and sheer madness, but it worked. This would have been in the 80s, starting in the 80s. So I found this catalog, and it just goes to show you. Down here is and you can look at this later, is a 1933 Gaudi Babe Ruth. It's a red background, and it's graded PSA year mid-8. This was right at the beginning of PSA, again, 26 years ago. And generally, when we did these auctions, they would end up getting 2 to 3 times the opening bid. In the case of this Babe Ruth, the opening bid was $5,000. So it might have sold for $10,000 or $15,000. I asked Brian today what it was worth today, and
I said $500,000.
So that got that, whoever bought that made a pretty good deal. I'll show you one other one. So this little card got a 15th of a page in the auction catalog. It's a Sporting News Babe Ruth from 1910, 1911. I'm sorry, 1915. And it was graded near mid, off center. We opened the bidding at $1,200. It probably sold for $5,000 or $10,000. It would sell today for $3 million. So to answer your question, things have changed, and money, money, money.
Yeah, definitely money has changed the hobby completely with the prices. But I would say there's also other factors that made a change, and I kind of want to ask Brian, what's going into collectors' minds today, other than the money factor, that it's creating, I'd say, a larger community and obviously increasing the prices?
So for me, I think the answer is really technology. I think technology has changed absolutely everything that we do, the way we look at things, the way that we access data. To Ron's point, in 1997, this was revolutionary. Now we host an auction every month. We put out 3,000-4,000 items every month, and we're able to do that because the bidding is all done online, and people can do it from their phones. And there are people that are probably bidding on auctions right now, watching eBay items. So technology, and then what we've seen in the last couple of years is data and aggregating prices and more availability and knowing what the pop report is on something, or knowing how many cards are higher or graded or comparable. You know, as data becomes available, it's easier for someone to take that plunge and consider investing in cards, or feel more comfortable that, hey, this is liquid, and if I fall out of love with it, I have something to do with it, you know? And so that's what we're seeing, this data, and then social media creates this community, right? We're streaming live right now. We've got people all around the world that are able to follow auctions and follow events like this. So for me, technology has changed everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. And just like you were saying, the knowledge aspect as well. You know, that's why we do collectors nights. So we can spread the word, not just everybody here, but online too. And the more collected. So it's so many different factors. Ultimately, I think you're right. It's money, money, money. But to spend that big money, it's a lot of data, you know, and knowledge, which goes into a lot of it.
And people like to know that they're collecting something that other people like. And again, it goes to liquidity, right? You want to know that you're not the only crazy person paying $3 million for this card. So.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier now than you were saying pre-internet, especially back in the day before computers. How did you, you know, learn things? How did you learn about populations? How did you learn what something's worth? Ronnie said, you know, he's been going to the National since what year was that? 1984. So when did you maybe first meet John, and how did that relationship start?
John and I were just talking. We walked over here to the store. We were just talking about how we met. And maybe you could base it on age, but we don't really know. Somebody brought me into John's store many, many years ago, and we became quick friends. One of the things that makes this little hobby of ours, with quotations, unique is that we are a community. And I saw a couple people here tonight that I probably haven't seen for 30 years. It's stress. But it's like we saw them yesterday. We remember each other, we ask about each other's families. It's not all about the money in that respect. So, goes around, comes around.
I can remember earlier than meeting Ronnie, way earlier than that. I got started in the mid-'80s collecting baseball cards. I should know better. I was on the other side of the counter. We sold coins and paper money, etc. So I came from a family of vendors, people on the other side of the counter, and I just got hooked on it. I went to a coin show on the way back from a coin show in Hong Kong. And I wound up at a coin show in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I saw a 54 mantle card, and I just fell in love with it. Paid $50 for it. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then I got hooked. And I started going to shows. And lo and behold, who do I run across as one of the dealers was Ronnie. And Ronnie had, in those days, usually pre-war cards. You probably had some post, but basically pre-war. I didn't know anything about pre-war cards. But I hung around, I spent some money, and we handled back and forth a little bit or something. And so I knew Ronnie. And then later on, we got to be real good friends when he came in the store. And before I knew it, I would travel down to Pennsylvania to his house to view lots in those type of auctions over there. That was a pullout in the SCD. And I would be down in his basement just going through, and it was literally in his house at the time. So that's pretty cool. And then we became really good friends. We just clicked. Went to McCartney concert together, you know. And then Ronnie was one time 60 years old, and I went to his 60th birthday party, right? A long time ago. We came down to Philadelphia area, and I was there, and it was a great moment. And then ever since, and Ronnie came to my 60th, as a matter of fact. That was last year? No. And so we became good friends, and he's one of my really true friends in the hobby. I mean, you can count your really true friends on one hand, sometimes two hands, but Ronnie is just that.
The hobby, baby. That's what it's about. So, a question for both Ronnie and Brian in the auction business right now. Who are you guys seeing coming to play? Is it serious collectors that are true and passionate, or are the investors starting to creep in and just saying, I may not know about this, but Ronnie has this card worth 6 figures in his auction, or Brian has this jersey in his auction worth a lot of money? Is it the passionate collectors here at Collectors Night, or is it the guy that just says, I can write the check, I don't care, someone told me it's good?
One of the things that I've noticed, and it's important, is 10 years ago I thought there wasn't another generation coming up that would be part of this hobby. And what I will affectionately call the shiny cards, a lot of people are buying the new cards, and it seems to me there is a trend that people that were buying Julius Erving rookies, 3, 5, not Julius Erving rookies, anyway, Michael Jordan rookies are now buying Will Chamberlain and George Mikan rookies. They are gravitating back to the vintage, I think, A, because they're obviously rarer, and B, because they see the value, and the older cards are never getting any newer. So, big change for me is in that respect.
So I mean, I think we're seeing a mix of people that you would term investors and people that you would term collectors. In my opinion, there's room for both. You know, so if you go through our auctions, we have monthly auction events where everything starts at $10. So you could conceivably walk out of there with something for $15 or $20. And that's stuff that's going to collectors. They're building sets, they're putting together team runs or player runs, and you know, they're looking for stuff like that. But then, you know, we set the record for a sports card at $6.6 million less than 2 years ago. And the guys that were buying that were a mix of collectors and investors. So you had people that were looking at this and saying, look, this is a great long-term investment. Wagner's have never gone down. I'm going to put my money into it and see what happens. You know, for me, I think investors get a bad rap in the hobby sometimes, but I think people that think that way are taking somewhat of a short-term view on the hobby. You know, you want guys that are coming in and spending money. You want guys that are bullish and are looking at this as a 5 or 10 year exit plan for them. So I think there's room for everybody, but collectors will always form the base of the hobby. And you need guys that are building sets. You need guys that care about the nuances of sets, what makes something tough and what makes something worth collecting. But there's room for everybody.
I was just going to say that we just see collectors. Our main market is collectors. People who love their stuff. They realize it's a good value, but we build collections more than people who are just trying to invest. And I suppose we do have sales to people who are investing, but that's not our market.
Now, on the flip side of the the people bidding, now over to the consigner, what is the ratio of the pre-war stuff that you were all used to, the vintage stuff, and now you have the shiny Pokemon that we've talked about before? Is more of that stuff flooding into your guys' hands over and over? And how do you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Is it fun for you? Are you learning?
Well, at this point in my career, there's nothing more exciting than a hunt. Nothing more exciting than walking into somebody's home, looking at their closet, and just seeing things in some rare cases that we've never seen before. Unfortunately, a lot of the good collections come our way by way of lawyers representing estates, because the real big old-time collectors are leaving us. And we all, Brian will tell you this, know where most of those collections are. They're friends of ours. We've known them for years. They've helped support our business. And we certainly are not looking forward to any of them not being with us anymore. But the nature of the beast is a lot of the really good old stuff is in the hands of really fine old-time collectors. So we don't do collections, fresh collections as 1950s and forward, but when we do, it's what keeps us going. Me in any case.
You know, for us, we're seeing, we always try and have cards from the 1870s to the 2020s. We really take pride in covering the whole spectrum and trying to serve every collector, because yes, our bread and butter is vintage. Yes, we've made a name for ourselves on baseball and the Ruths and the Garricks and the Wagners and all that. But, you know, Ron used an example of a Jordan rookie. That's pushing 40 years old right now. And so there are people that look at that as vintage. And we just took a call from somebody a couple weeks ago that said, I've got this really old Pokemon box. It turned out that when Pokemon was made in Japan in 1996, they bought one of the boxes that was, you know, first off the line. And so now this is something that's new, but it's got this vintage nature to it in the realm of Pokemon, and we kind of get to marry both worlds. So for us, it's exciting, and you know, to John's point, like our business is ultimately built on collectors. There's room for everybody at the table, but we just want to put stuff out there that the collectors want. And for some guys, that's a 1870s CDV, and for other guys, it's a Pokemon box from the 1990s, and from other guys, it's a Juan Soto or Drew Jones, you know. So we just want to put stuff out there that collectors want.
That's an excellent point about the Jordan rookie. So he's 40 years old, right? That's mind-boggling, right? So I read an article in the Times about a month ago, and they were speaking about sealed first edition, well not first, I guess first edition, DVRs, DVDs, DVDs, I'm sorry, I was getting too excited. It was so old. DVDs, and how people collect a Rocky, DVD.
VHS, yes.
Oh, VHS? I don't know. Yes. The big ones. And God knows we have a million of those things, but we took them out of the package. You know? But anyway, so they could be $30,000, $40,000, and so you know, who cares, right? That was 1976, I think, Rocky. But the point is, they grew up watching that movie, and that became a collectible. That was their childhood. We collect things from our childhood. That's why 60s mantles, 50s mantles, right? They're really important because that was our childhood. I remember watching them on TV, blah, 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 you know? And if you think about it, the analogy here is that people grew up watching on a VHS Star Wars. Why wouldn't they want a Star Wars, right? And so it's not as silly as we think it is. So when it comes to an 86 Jordan, of which there's 323 or something 10s, it kind of makes sense at a number. You know, maybe not at 700, maybe not at 600, maybe at a number at 150. I don't know. You know, you need 323 people to agree with it, right? So, I just, you know, we believe in collecting, period, and what makes you happy. And so if you look up on a poster, if you have a poster, let's say, of Star Wars, and you look at it every day as you're watching TV, it's pretty good, right? So it makes you happy. Same thing with cards. Same thing with maybe a VHS or a Pokemon card. I mean, Pokemon's what makes Pokemon so great. They came out in the 90s, I guess, basically, right? Hey, if you're born in the 90s, right, Chris? It's a big deal, right? You flipped them, you had them, you know.
Threw them all out.
They're still throwing out cards. Even in the 90s, people were still throwing out cards. Haven't we learned anything?
That's kind of the theme tonight from our last panel about diversifying and finding new things. Yes, baseball cards are the backbone of our hobby, right? That's usually the entrance point. But then you start learning about new areas. So that's kind of our next question we want to see. What are you guys seeing, like trend-wise? What do you think is really gaining steam? We talked about some inscription baseballs, which obviously are getting a lot of attention, original photographs. But from your perspective as auctioneers, what do you guys see as trends?
Well, I mean, I think photography, which Ben touched on, is a great area. I mean, we have always loved photography. Oftentimes we make these great original images, the covers of our catalogs. I mean, we just think they're incredible. They capture a moment in time of what these guys were doing that we all remember them for and idolize them for. So big fan of photography. You know, frankly, I've been beating the drum on game use memorabilia for a number of years now. and I've been beating it even harder as the prices for cards increase. You know, to me, it always seemed incongruous that you could buy an Aaron game used bat for $10,000 or a rookie card for $10,000. You know, so I have always thought that game used memorabilia, connection to the player, way more scarce than these cards.
It's tools of trade.
Yeah, right. What made him great has always been undervalued, and we're seeing prices creep up in that, and I think it's finally getting its due. But I still think there's room to run in game used memorabilia, and if you get it properly sourced and vetted and authenticated, I think it represents a great value because they're not finding generally more uniforms worn by these guys. You know, you could have a find of baseball cards that could totally upset the population, but we pretty much know what's out there right now in the realm of game used.
Right, and just to add on that too, we talked about this before, Aaron Judge gets a new jersey every day. Right, Will Chamberlain, that was his one uniform for the season. How about you, Ron? What were you seeing?
I don't, well, new pack opening of cards is something that, I don't even know the proper term, but...
ripping wax.
Yes.
Ripping wax.
Thank you. When that first, I guess in the last few years, 5 years maybe, became popular, I saw it at the National for the first time, and the room emptied and went to where they were opening all these packs, and I kind of found it humorous a little bit because they were new packs, but then I thought back, and I'm going to date myself again. When I was 14, I was walking to the drugstore and buying 1 cent and 5 cent 52 Tops packs. As many as my parents would let me spend, 25 cents on and get a few packs. We opened them up right away. We put them in our bicycle wheels, and we never really thought, obviously, anything other than who can I flip to get more cards. I was from Philadelphia. Tops was in Pennsylvania, Dwyer, Pennsylvania. We never saw sight of a 52 Tops high number. No one ever got a Mickey Mantle, even though we were that close to them. They just didn't really distribute in that area. So the advent of new cards, and I see fathers and sons, fathers, that were buying cards in the 50s weren't ever opening packs, but there they are with their son opening packs. So that's something that is new and different.
Yeah, that relates to the find, like you were saying, the hunt, when you find something, it's the same parallel. Let's see here. You guys obviously collect, I hope. Tell us, what do you guys collect?
Well, I tell people that I collect grandchildren. I have 9 of them, so we made a baseball team. When I collected, before grading, I collected high-grade tobacco cards. T206s, T205s, triple folder, anything high-grade I collected. And not because that I thought they would get that much more expensive. Grading wasn't a concept, but the idea of getting cards that were almost 100 years or so old in really nice condition appealed to me. Of course, I sold them about 50 years too soon.
For me, I kind of cut my teeth on vintage, like Ron. I started building sets, then I went back to T206s and blue chip Hall of Famers like Cobb and then Ruth and Gehrig. I always joke with people that I have the best collection in the world 3 times a year because I'm putting together these auctions where there's $15 million plus worth of stuff, and there's cards and game used and memorabilia and autographs and everything. So I kind of went off script and I started collecting things that we wouldn't have in our auction so that I could kind of scratch that itch and learn about new areas and get to see stuff that I wouldn't normally see. So I started dabbling in currency. I have some $500 bills and $1,000 bills. I started buying some gold coins. I just bought my first comic within the last month, so that's pretty exciting. And I bought Spider-Man #1. So I went in with both feet. And then I just buy iconic stuff that I think is really cool and undervalued. Like I think historical signatures are a great buy. I mean, I paid $8,000 for an Abraham Lincoln Military Commission from 1863, which, again, people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for modern prospects, which, God bless you, collect what you like. I always say collect what you like, but to me, I mean, this just seemed like a no-brainer. So started dabbling in historical, presidential, big figures, Beatles, Armstrong, Houdini, guys like that.
Ron, anything offbeat that you've collected or owned today, other than baseball cards, something that we wouldn't expect that you to have in your collection?
I've always had an affinity for non-sports cards, starting in the tobacco era and then into the 30s, horrors of war. These are cards with amazing artwork. And just a variety of subjects, from war to aviation, to actors and actresses. And another little sidebar of that is there are people that collect the original art of those cards. Someone we know, John Scott, is one of the co-founders of Huggins and Scott, has, I think, the largest collection of baseball original artwork, which is of cards, mostly non-sport, but he collects baseball and other sports as well. But they're all one of a kind, and they're all hand done. And for them to survive this year, it's like everybody threw away the wrappers, but yet there's a market for wrappers. No one ever got to even see original artwork, but there is a market for original artwork. So I appreciate that aspect.
I love paper money. I mean, old paper money. Look at some of the, we have some examples right here on the wall. Look at the, but it's $1,000 bill. That doesn't, we deal with a zillion, we always deal with those. But look at the $5 bill below, 1899, $5 silver certificate. With a Native American on it. It's unbelievable. It is lost to the ages. And I've got a few pieces of cards here, pre-war cards here. This stuff is lost to the ages. They could never do work like this again. But look at it's vivid. So I love that. I love photography. I really love good old photographs, especially if they have significance, right? Like Ben was just showing us. And of course, anything historical. You just can't. You'll never lose money on Lincoln. You'll never lose money on Washington. You'll never lose money on Teddy Roosevelt, Jefferson, Adams. This stuff is extremely scarce, and it doesn't sell for a lot of money. Imagine a military document, an appointment document for the Civil War that Abraham Lincoln signed with the vignette. Those vignettes, they're just gorgeous. Yeah. Especially if you can get it in a little higher grade too. Correct, condition, right? So, as you can see, the three of us are old timers. We just, I'm sorry, but
I've been doing this a lot longer than I look.
Than you I just can't imagine you losing money on that, and you enjoy it along the way. And there's always some other person who will buy it from you, who will agree with you how great it is. And that's when I started with baseball cards. I found other people that would agree with me. I'd buy the top of the line condition, but there was always someone else that would agree with me. And I'd always say there's going to be one person out there that is in agreement. So, anything historical.
So now we're going to do some show and tell and see what you guys actually collect. We're also going to do a Q&A right after that. So if anybody has questions, just make your way up here. But if you guys want to start pulling out your show and tell items, and we can rotate or however you guys want to go.
I brought 3 auction highlights because they're valuable and cool and people wouldn't see them. But I can flip the script, and I did bring 3 personal collection items if you'd rather see personal collection. So you tell me, it's your event, Chris.
We want to see everything.
All right. Well, I don't want to monopolize the time, but
Also, real quick, how many people were at our first event that we did a little over a year ago? All right, a couple still here, right? So Chris and I had no clue what the hell we were doing that night. And 2 days before, Brian called us and he goes, "Do you guys mind if I come?" And we're like, "Yeah, of course. We'd love to have more people. We don't really know how the event's going to go. We hope it goes great." And he goes, "Okay, thanks. Do you mind if I bring a T206 Wagner with me?" And we were just like, "Yeah, of course. Like that'll set the bar for the whole night." So so far of all these 5 events, that has been the best, you know, the best show and tell item. So do your best to top it. I don't know if you will.
I was just gonna say that's why I brought some auction highlights because I have a reputation to uphold.
There you go.
So I have with me here a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson rookie. That's a PSA 8. Incredible high grade for a card like this. I have, keeping with the post-war rookies theme, I have a 51 Bowman Mantle rookie here in a PSA 8. And then going back to my roots, I have a T206 Cobb portrait red background here in an SGC 8. So 113 years old and in an 8 condition. So each of these 3 cards will be in our upcoming auction this summer. Keeping with what I collect, I did bring here Amazing Fantasy 15. So this is the first appearance of Spider-Man. So this is a PC item for me. And then I think it's really cool.
Can you give us an idea about value and scarcity on something like this?
So that I paid $125,000 for. And it's, you know, condition, it's a 7.5 on the scale. 7.5 is not the, 7.5 is near mint plus in our world, which is, you know, top of the scale. 7.5 in comics is not quite the top of the scale, but if you come and you look at it in person, it presents really well. It's got great color. It's unrestored. So, you know, it's a great piece. And then here are two items that I really like. So I have 2 checks from the New York Yankees, payroll checks where they pay Lou Gehrig and they pay Babe Ruth. And they deducted $250 from Babe Ruth's salary for a doctor's bill that they paid for him. So you can only imagine what he had to go to the doctor for, where the Yankees were like, what year? This is 1922. And the Gehrig's from 1930. So they're both on New York Yankees payroll stationery. They're signed by Jacob Rupert. They're endorsed by the players on the back, and you can see itemized expenses on Babe Ruth's.
And they were both making like 30 to 40 mil a year, right? Like that's his salary.
The Lou Gehrig check is for $833, and the Babe Ruth check is for $9,000. Money. I guess it's changed everywhere. So that's a mix of auction highlights and PC.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. JB, you have some stuff to show as well?
Sure.
With the Caserta collection.
This is just purchased. This is a silk of Ty Cobb. So this is possibly condition census, but we'll find out when I give it to SGC to take home with them to grade. So these were made these were premiums. You sent away tobacco coupons from tobacco cards, tobacco packs, and you sent away for a variety of different players. This is the Cobb, and the condition is just magnificent. Something like this is really undervalued, totally undervalued. I think we paid almost $50,000 for it, but I think it's incredible value because I know how rare these are. So hopefully SGC will agree with me on condition. We'll put it into one of these, which is a Turkey Red T3. So that's these are from the teens, of course. We'll put this into this holder, and this is another premium. Oh, by the way, checklists on the back of the Turkey Reds, what they call a T3 designation. These do not have a checklist, but we kind of know pretty much how which players were made or manufactured. So what was this? 100 pieces on baseball, I think.
100 baseball.
Yeah, 100 baseball.
Plus boxing.
How many? 25 boxing.
26. Maybe?
26 boxing. Yeah. So that's a Cy Young, and that's a pretty high grade, believe it or not, because you can imagine how tough it is to keep the corners right on this piece. When SGC comes up, Peter will come up. He's got some of our also turkey reds. We have a cob there, which I think is also condition census. But can you imagine? I was just speaking about loss to the age, currency. Think about this. This could never be done again, right? We're doing the teens now. Imagine doing this in the teens. It can't be done today, and it'll be cost prohibitive. And just the third book, the third piece I brought. If you remember last time I was here, I brought a great Jackie Robinson letter with great civil rights content. Well, we sold that for $35,000. But this is a book that he wrote. I think he wrote this in 62, if I recollect, or 60 or 62, I forget. Anyway, I've owned a number of these, but signed by him. Well, this is not only signed by him, there's a beautiful inscription regarding civil rights in here as well. And it's not terribly expensive. Maybe it's $7 grand, $6 grand, something like that. A regular Jackie Robinson book probably in today's world is, at least $4,000. But this is what you buy. You buy content, provided that the condition is good. And of course, the condition is good. I wouldn't buy it unless the condition was good. Oh, by the way, it's dated 7/1960. So I think this book is a 60, if I'm not mistaken, first edition. But you buy Jackie Robinson with content regarding civil rights. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? Pretty good value. Anyway, so that's what I brought. Again, good, unusual stuff in great condition. You're not gonna lose money, in my opinion. So that's what I got.
Thank you, JB. I took your spot, I'm sorry. And now, Ron, over to you, my friend.
So what I brought is kind of overwhelming compared to what Brian and John brought. But I brought one historical item and two that I just think are very neat. Not necessarily terribly expensive or valuable, but just neat. So none of you will be able to see this until you walk up to the table, but it's a Mickey Mantle baseball. It comes with a letter from the gentleman who was a kid at the time who
It's not a Rubik.
it's not a Rubik's Cube. It's more than 3 seconds. This baseball, you can't see the stampings anymore. It's the New York Yankees. There are 6 signatures of average players, no Hall of Famers, on one panel. And sitting on the other panel, and incidentally, this is from 1951, spring training. Sitting on this panel is a signature that most of you wouldn't recognize. It's Mickey Mantle, but it's Mickey Mantle's signature from 1951 as a rookie. And as the consignor told us, he went with his father to a baseball game. It was the only year the Dodgers played their spring training on the West Coast. And his father caught a foul ball. And after the game, the boy and his father went to the hotel where the Yankees were staying because they wanted to get Joe DiMaggio's signature, who was also playing, he was playing on his final year in 51, the year the Mantle was a rookie. So they waited in the lobby. Joe DiMaggio they never saw, but they saw a kid named Mickey Mantle who signed it, and they said the thing they said about it is he was very shy. It just come up, and so this is basically, because we know it's an official ball by the story that we were told. They used official balls in the minor leagues, and this was most likely one of the very earliest Mickey Mantle actual balls, professional model balls, that were signed when he was a professional. He had signed a contract, and he was in the minors, and it was already known that he was going to go to the majors. This could easily be one of the very, very few earliest Mantle. It presents as a single sign ball. We can't call it a single sign ball because it has these other signatures in the side. But if you've never seen a really early mantle, come up when we're finished here and take a look at it.
You know, we were talking about trends. I think that's a very undervalued area of collecting too, is early rookie era signatures of these vintage guys. I think there's a lot of room to grow in that area.
And we don't really know if this is going to sell for $5,000 or $25,000. If there's two people who care for it, it could go to the sky. So this one should be interesting. This is all three of these are in our Huggins upcoming auction that takes place it ends the first week of August. In the 1950s, there was a company called At my age, you bring your nose with you. Gibbs Connor? Called Gibbs Connor. And they made banks, they made cookie jars, they made ashtrays, mostly porcelain. And they made baseball figures. There are ones known from the Cleveland Indians, I think, their mascot, two other various players. This one is the Brooklyn Dodgers, probably circa mid-1950s. This is the bomb that Willard Mullen made famous. He was the cartoonist who in the 40s created the Brooklyn bombs. This one was a prototype. It never went into the stores. It never got sold. We did some homework on it. I found two that had been sold in similar condition. This could be one that was sold 3 times, is the only one that's known, or one of two, or it's extremely rare, and it's considered amongst the most highly coveted Dodgers collectibles. So very, very neat. Looks like it was made yesterday. I've never seen one. The last thing is just visual and interesting. It's an Everlast boxing glove. We haven't been able to ascertain the artist, but he was really good. It's a very, very good likeness of Muhammad Ali. The thing that makes it kind of special, in gold Sharpie, he has signed it Cassius Clay. You know, it wasn't signed when he was Cassius Clay, and he was known when people would ask him to sign Cassius Clay after he became Muhammad Ali, that it wasn't something he did very often. Maybe this one belonged to the artist, and the artist showed it to him, but he did sign Cassius Clay, and it stands out. It would look nice in anybody's boxing collection. So have a look if you get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, John. Give them a round of applause, guys. We're going to go take a break. We'll be right back with Peter Steinberg from SGC. Come on up, take pictures of stuff, take a look at it. Thank you, guys. Thanks again.
Knocks on the beat. Knocks on the beat, beat, beat.
guys are done in the bar, if you guys want to take a seat here, we're going to get started. Thank you for coming, Peter.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Peter had 2 canceled flights from, Miami?
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale.
Somebody buy him a drink ASAP.
All right, I guess just kind of how we get started with everybody. Tell us, what are your earliest memories in the hobby? How did you get started? You're a very young guy, you're the CEO of SGC. Kind of, how did this all evolve?
Yeah, so I didn't have a dad who was a collector. In fact, I had a dad who didn't understand collecting at all. However, I had a friend's dad who loved collecting, and I loved going over to that friend's house to admire his dad's cards and autographs and things like that. What I did have, though, was a very supportive father, so although he didn't understand the appreciation for these items, he was constantly taking me to the card store, stadiums, waiting by the team bus to get autographs. I was kind of an autograph hound for a lot of years. So yeah, really very supportive parents that allowed me to spend a lot of money for an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old on, signed stuff and cards as well.
Awesome. So from collecting as a kid and chasing autographs yourself, how did you get into the business side of it?
I really fell into it, much like Brian, who mentioned that he lived 15 minutes from SGC. Well, that I believe was in New Jersey at the time. My SGC was in Boca Raton, Florida. I had left college, figured I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I loved the hobby, but I never thought that working in it was really an option. And I took a job at the entry level for this company called SGC. And I was super excited about it. And once I really saw kind of not only how the bread is baked in a, as far as a grading company goes, but how really extensive these cards are and how historic they are and just how beautiful they are. And I fell in love, truly. I was mostly a modern collector for most of my life. And since joining SGC, I bleed vintage for sure, so yeah.
So when was that? How long ago? How long have you been with SGC?
So that was January of 2018. At the time, SGC was a smaller company. We were probably 12 or so employees. We don't know the exact count. But yeah, we were doing about 250 cards at the time, 250 a day. And with a booming hobby, obviously, and I guess some good decisions here and there and a lot of hard work by the team. We're now about 170 people or so, and we do about 6,000 cards a day, so it's pretty...
That's incredible. Give Peter a round of applause for that.
Started in 2018 and now the CEO. That's pretty awesome. Well done.
That part was very lucky. It's really just putting people around me. Passion is the biggest thing. If you don't care about what you're doing, you just have no chance of being a good grader. If you don't care about what you're doing, you have no chance of adequately protecting, the Ty-Cobb T206 and an 8. Remember, it's not guys like us who are encapsulating these cards. It's a large company. We have to hire people who may not have that appreciation. So what's really important is instilling that appreciation and just kind of your average Joes, which are downstairs rather than upstairs right now at the bar. Yeah.
Well done. So give us a little bit of the evolution of SGC. You said it started out as a small, when you were there, it was maybe 12 guys. Now, 100 plus. The company in general, just, what you guys are grading, seeing on a day-to-day basis from when you started or maybe even before that, when Dave started everything, and to today, like, how has it evolved?
Yeah, I mean, it really was kind of brick by brick. I have distinct memories of receiving, there was one order we received, someone sent us probably around 500 modern cards, and the entire office, like, huddled around, high fives, because it was like, oh my God, someone was, at the time it felt like dumb enough to trust us with their modern. And today, that's far from the case. I mean, we are as much a modern company as a vintage company. We're growing in TCG, which is really awesome to see, non-sports. So yeah, it's really just been an evolution, and most of all, it's really about changing opinions. At the end of the day, we knew modern cards just as good as anyone. For whatever reason, there was a certain stigma that since SGC had all these T206s in their holder, they must not understand an Aaron Judge, refractor type thing. So it's just education, transparency, and honestly outbeating the competition when it comes to giving our collectors value. We were not given this opportunity. We decided to go for a turnaround time. When PSA was at about 1.5 years, we decided that we'd make our turnaround time somewhere between 2 and 5 days. That's just how we chose to attack the market. It's worked very well. We have that 2 to 5 day turnaround time today, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So there's a lot that SGC has coming here in the future, but certainly when it comes to the accuracy of the grading, turnaround time, as I mentioned, that's kind of the core business that we will not lose even as we grow and expand and things like that.
Yeah, we're not here to put anybody down or any company down, but we can prop somebody up, and we can attest because we submit all the time. The turnaround time with you guys is phenomenal. We love submitting to you. It's seamless. The process is great. And also the tuxedo holders do have a nice contrast with the color of the card. So we love it. You guys, if you haven't, start submitting to SGC. They're the best.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
It's
I mean,
just the truth.
Another thing I'll say is it's gotten a lot harder. You know, when we broke in, guys, and we really started growing, as I said, PSA was at a year and a half. I think we all know PSA is not at a year and a half anymore, far from it. And good for them. You know, they've really corrected that aspect of their model, which is great for the hobby. But what I'm very happy to say is clearly SGC has made a large impact on a huge segment of the hobby, because those 6,000 cards coming in a day are still coming in every day. And we're actively expanding, which is really exciting.
Well, what's also great about SGC is not only are you obviously doing quantity of stuff, you're doing high quality stuff. So I think it was 2 events ago, we had Derek Reed here, if you guys remember from Heritage, and we were talking about the Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps rookie they had just graded, and it was a 9.5. So tell us a little bit that card. What was that like, grading it, and seeing such a pristine card?
Yeah, so we'd heard that a really special Mickey Mantle was headed our way, and the next morning when there was, I don't know what he was, I guess a cop with some sort of machine gun in our lobby, I figured the Mantle had arrived. That was pretty wild. And yeah, the card was just breathtaking. I mean, it was almost, it was like too good to be true, almost. You really just couldn't stop looking at it, and we felt really confident that we gave it the most accurate grade possible. And that's a Min Plus 9.5. The card was not a 9, and it was not a 10. It was a 9.5, and obviously we're extremely proud that that card set a world record at $12.6 million, which is something our team takes a lot of pride in.
Yeah, I think that's obviously important for SGC, but that's just important for collectors, it's important for the hobby. Not only just having it graded correctly, but to have a gem like that come out and sell at auction, I think gets everybody excited, right? Everybody wanted to buy 52 Mantle, or any Mantle really at that point. Even leading up to it, before it sold for $12.5, a lot of people were like, I gotta get mine before this sells for big money, because then I'll be priced out. So I think it's really important for the hobby when those things sell, and it's even better than have your name on it.
Yeah, appreciate it. I definitely agree. The amount of people that reached out that know nothing about the hobby when that card sold was pretty astounding, and it's events like that, and I guess milestones like that really that sets the path for the future for all of us as far as hobby growth and just welcoming new blood and more, I guess just more familiarity between, as I said, those downstairs and what's going on upstairs.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, because people may want to know, I want to know, what kept that card from being a 10? 9.5, 12.6, it set the record, but what kept it from being the perfect gem in 10?
So there was some extremely light toning, which is obviously super common when we're talking about a card from 1952. So much so that almost depending on the light, you didn't even pick it up at all. There's an argument to be made that the card was a 10, but there's also an argument to be made that the card's a 9, and that's kind of that beautiful 9.5 kind of middle ground between the two. Certainly wasn't a lot wrong with it.
No, we saw it. It was
the conversation kind of ends there as far as flaws.
So is there any other card you think that can, other than the Wagner, obviously, rival maybe an auction sale of, let's say, post 10 million in the near future that you've seen or graded over SGC?
Probably not a 52 Mantle and a 9.5. That's kind of in a league of its own. I mean, we've somewhat recently graded a Wagner a 5, and the card is just stunning. You have to think that card, that would exceed 12.6 for sure. But these cards rarely sell because they just are so special, and the collectors that own them usually are not in a rush to, say goodbye to their one and only, prized possession.
So obviously you're card heavy, you're SGC, but personally as a collector, do you do anything else other than cards? What do you collect?
So, as I said, growing up, I was a huge autograph collector. A collector by nature, I collected bobbleheads. I have an appreciation. Every single item that's been brought up here is pretty cool to me, for sure. I collect a lot of different kinds of cards. I'm a vintage baseball guy. I'm a big Harry Potter geek. I grew up in a Harry Potter family. There are some really cool Harry Potter sets, actually, from back when kind of the movies were coming out. Some of which, there's a Harry Potter card that's worth 50 grand it recently sold for. That's a Harry, Ron, Hermione triple autograph card. Yeah, I have the second best. I don't have that one. But, so I collect that. A lot of things, for sure. I mean, as I said, signed baseballs. I have a few contracts, things like that. I think uncut sheets are incredibly undervalued, especially the right sheets. It's pretty significant, those items, for sure.
So at a previous event, we had Mark Salzberg here from CCG. They do coins, which is NGC. They do comic books with the CGC. They do Pokemon cards. They have probably about 6 or 7 different areas of authentication. So obviously you guys are very strong in cards. Is there something maybe in the future that you would look to get into, that you guys want to get into, or not?
Definitely, and that's a really commonly asked question. At the end of the day, we're one of the, really probably the only grading company that's stuck to cards, and we're actually the leader in vintage baseball uniform authentication as well. I think a big reason that we're only in cards right now is, remember the trajectory that I just talked about. You know, PSA has been a juggernaut since we all started collecting. SGC had kind of this niche in the market, but it's only recently that we've really exploded in size. Relative to kind of the grading landscape, I'd say, the strategy that we took was nail down the core business, make sure you're the best at what you do, which is deliver accurately graded cards in a reasonable amount of time, and then you expand, rather than trying to spread out into VHS grading and, you know, way before you kind of have your ducks in a row. So the answer is there's going to be a lot of expansion to come for sure. We're just we take the core business and the collector experience incredibly seriously, and will not sacrifice that even for, you know, a lot of dollars.
We love hearing that as, you know, dealers and collectors ourselves. Like, you know, to know the passion is behind it, and you guys are all in. It's great.
It's about to get better too. I mean, SGC's been silent for a while now, working on a tremendous amount of things, kind of behind the scenes. And what's frustrating from my position is I can't tell you all what we're working on because, you know, it's.
We'll bring you back at a future event.
We've been cut off before by some others, but it'll be a fun quarter 4 for SGC this year.
You'll be able to, at a future event, like I said, we'll talk about that. Something I'm curious about is the future of just grading in general. You know, you've graded cards before. You look at them, you know, with a trained eye and experience, and you know, you have Miles doing it, right? Is there a point in the near future or a distant future where you're not going to have the grader physically looking at a card? Is it going to be computer, AI generated? Is that a discussion in not just for SGC, but just in grading in general?
So the thing that AI does more than anything, it's not accuracy. Because remember, someone is programming that computer to spit out that grade. There's no algorithm that you could input that just makes the right grade every time. It's basically a grader is teaching that machine. I know our graders, I trust my graders simply more than the other people training those machines. But it's consistency. At SGC, that's something we take a lot of pride in, leading the way in consistency. But it makes total sense that the market is hungry for a truly, you know, objective opinion at the end of the day. What's most important is that these items are accurately graded. And at SGC, we use a lot of technology to assist our graders in doing so. But I think that we're quite pleased with what kind of the product that we're putting out as far as accurately graded cards. And what people don't realize, a lot of collectors don't realize, is that the company, the nature of the people who are running your organization is so important, because I'm the one that signs the checks when we make a mistake. And we make a lot of mistakes because we do 6 1,000 units every single day of the year. So if you do a 1/10 of 1%, we gave that one an 8 and it should have been a 6. Or we said that that was a 3 and it should have been authentic because it's got a trim on the top. It is vital that the right people who have the best interest of the hobby in mind are running the organization, because at the end of the day, it is impossible, even if AI is introduced, to get it right every time. So you need to almost clean up the streets and police things so that the sellers are selling their item for top dollar, not $1 more, and the buyers aren't paying $1 more than they should, aka accurately graded cards. That's what it comes down to.
Love that. So we're going to do a little show and tell segment in a second here with some SGC cards. But guys, again, if you have any questions, come right on up. Just come right over here and we can ask Pete any questions on your mind. But let's show some stuff. Cool.
Right over there, brother.
So I have these on loan from Chris. These are not my personal cards, but obviously here, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the T3 1910 Turkey Red set. Honestly, a very undervalued set, if you ask me. It seems like with these larger cards, they're just a little more difficult to collect. But at the end of the day, how that doesn't outsell pretty much everything in the hobby when it comes to cards is pretty mind-boggling to me, just due to the artwork, the historical significance of it. And speaking of the historical significance, anytime you have this kind of thing, basically you give in coupons and you receive, what is that? You send coupons and you receive, I believe one of these is how it would work, if I'm not mistaken. And just those little stories, the historical context, as I was saying, to the cardboard, I don't know. Geeks like me really enjoy that kind of stuff, so I think it's pretty cool.
And it's the same, combat on shoulder image that Henry was just looking at with the colors, same, of the silk that we showed earlier in the previous segment. It's the same classic image, one of the best in the hobby. Henry can attest to that. But yeah, the T3 set, it's massive, it's colorful, it stands out. Guys in the back can see it from there. It's not the T206 where you gotta line up over here. You can see that, it makes a statement.
For sure, and there's benefits to both, because T206s are great, because you could have a drawer of 1,000 of them, but these things really catch your eye for sure. So pretty cool item.
Right, and we have one more item here. This is a little different. This is a postcard.
Yeah, so this one's a Max Stein postcard, badly in need of a reholder, I see. But
coming to SGC this week.
What's cool about this one is, I really like postcards because you get a little bit of kind of flavor of the era recently. So this one you'll see is not written on, which is why it's received the grade of a 3. If there was some writing on that, it would probably be a 1.5 or so. But we received, it was actually a different Wagner postcard, and I think I actually recorded a video about it for social media because it was so cool. Someone had written on the postcard something along the lines of, "Hey brother, it's been a long time, haven't seen you. This is that Honus Wagner fellow I told you so much about. He's a fantastic, that kind of thing." And personally, I'd probably prefer a card like that in a 1 with that sort of really cool inscription, by the way, than even having a clean copy. But certainly a lot of appreciation for both. And yeah, super interesting kind of the history of cards and the fact that up until 1952, they really did not look anything like what they look like today, back then.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love the vintage stuff, the context, there's stories behind them. I love all types of cards, but when they're mass produced, this is a little more special because each of them have this backstory, especially if it's written on. That's the unique one type of piece. So
for sure.
Yeah, definitely more interesting.
Agreed.
I love it, and yes, we will be sending that out to you guys for the new updated holder, and it'll make it pop even more than it already does.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Quick turnaround time too, 2 to 5 days. It's easy.
Hey guys, give Pete a round of applause real quick.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have any questions for Pete? Okay, so we're gonna go, I think, right into the raffles because we're running over here. We're almost 9:30 right now. So if you haven't bought a ticket, buy them right now because we're literally bringing all the giveaways right over to the table. We'll start calling everybody's name. Real quick, one more round of applause for Peter.
Thank you.
We show off the items and pull the names. And thank you everybody for coming. Thank you everybody for speaking tonight. And thank you to this crew for sticking around for the entire time. This was definitely our biggest one that we've done. You know, most people, most guests. I hope we get even more, you know, the sixth one, and we can convince Sean Riley to open up another bar in the city that holds more people. And but this was awesome. And yeah, here's the moment you guys have all been waiting for. In addition to speaking tonight and, you know, sharing their expertise and their love of the hobby, each you know, guest and speaker tonight was kind enough to provide something tonight. So you guys just heard from Pete Steinberg of SGC, and he and SGC are giving away $900 worth of free submissions, free card submissions, which is about 50 cards. So it's awesome value, and like we said before, the turnaround time is pretty awesome. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I have nothing to hold up to show you for that, so that's why Pete's up here. I can't pick him up. He seems like a big dude, but I'm gonna reach in, and we're gonna go. Does it say my name? All right. The first winner for $900 worth of SGC submissions is Paul Mefford. There you go, Paul. Hey, Paul. Paul, I don't know where you are. All right.
He's watching at home.
He's streaming, live stream. Thank you, brother. What do you want to do next?
Let's do Nick Key or Ben. Let's do Ronnie Oser.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Ronnie Oser was nice enough to give a sealed tops pack. Which year we got? 2022 seal box. Archives Baseball, 2 on-card autos per box. So we got a great piece here for our modern collectors. And we're going to go in here. And Pineda. There he is, Luis Pineda. There we go, baby. It's fitting that you set up the Fox News story for Craig and the Card Club. There you go. There you go. Give it back to the kids. All right, next we have a giveaway from Ben Weingarten, an incredible photo kit for those who want to get involved. He's got the archival gloves, he's got UV lights, different things that you can use for your collection, including a portfolio. He has the 2 books. He's got the 1 book that Henry Yee provided the forward for, which is the original, the OG book of photo collecting.
This is the new one. This is the new one.
Excuse me, I apologize. The Jim Chapman book, excuse me. So 2 books, and also, he does have an 8x10 original photo, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then known as Lou Alcindor, 1967 on the UCLA Bruins. Original Type 1 photograph, arguably the most dominant high school, college basketball player there was. I don't want to get into sports debate, but that's part of the giveaway. And the winner is, once again, Mr. Paul Mefford. There you go. Brian Dwyer and REA Auctions, they're providing a Hank Aaron signed bat. Hammer and Hank, the original Home Run King, 755, setting the record. And here we go. Fingers crossed. Danny Brassam.
He just left. I just said goodbye to him. Yeah. He
Huh?
just walked out the door.
All right, I'm going to take it for myself then. They're not clapping. Also from Brian and REA is a mantle signed stat sheet. There's actually a cool photo on the back of the Mick signing it. So pretty cool, nice mantle auto there. And let's see what we got here. Pete Brandy, if you're still here. Ah, there he is. A former winner. Pete won an Aaron Judge signed jersey 2 events ago. So you can have that. There you go. Congrats, buddy. Of course.
So there was one more item from Brian at REA. It was Joe Montana football that you probably saw. And he just informed me on the way over here when he went to bring it, it was completely deflated. and he didn't want to
Tom
give
Brady
away
deflated.
a deflated football. So we're going to do another giveaway here. We'll do the credit he said, or we'll find him another football. But this is for another winner. So we have one more giveaway from Robert Edward Auctions. Will Stroud, who also just left. I said goodbye to him a minute ago. He's watching. He told me he'd be live streaming though.
All right.
Will, if you're watching, congrats, buddy.
From Nick Key, the king of the single sign baseball inscriptions, here we have a Mike Trout inscription ball, the Holly City Hero. So we talked about the Melville Meteor, but this is another one, Mike Trout, the Holly City Hero.
Is Holly City another nickname for Millville, New Jersey? Ah, okay, there we go. So like the Commerce Comic. The Holly City Hero, Mike Trout.
Peter King, I know he's live streaming from home and watching, so congrats, Pete. Sorry, boys. Everyone's miserable.
Peter King, all right. Cool. This is the last one?
I believe that's it. All right, and last but not least, from us over at Brigandi Coins and Collectibles, we have a oversized photo of Mickey Mantle inscribed number 7, and most of you are familiar with that image. It is the 1952 Bowman Mantle, so it's his second year in the league, and just an awesome image, an awesome card, great bold signature from the Mick, and number 7 inscribed, and the winner is Irvin Cash.
There he is.
There he is, all the way from Texas. Thank you, sir. Big congrats to all of our winners tonight. Those who are here, those who aren't, those who are watching at home. And thank you guys.
Guys, thank you all for coming. This was a great night. I hope you enjoyed yourself. We'll see you at the bar.
Next